Hello and welcome everybody to Climate Transformation Summit 2025 in beautiful Berlin at Impact Hub. We just had 2 full days that were packed with a lot of action. Action on what? Scope 3. So let's have a look at what the others say. So let's start with getting to know our guest.
So hi, my name is Christina Müller. I'm working for the Nordex group, who is a manufacturer for onshore wind turbines, headquartered in Hamburg, Germany. And within the Nordex group, I'm responsible for the cluster of climate, environmental reporting and biodiversity in the role of as a functional lead.
And now I can't wait to hear why you actually work on Scope 3.
As we are like in the manufacturing business, dealing with a lot of steel, with a lot of concrete, Scope 3 accounts for 99% of our entire corporate carbon footprint. And then if you look at Scope 3.1, this is still like somewhat ranging in the 75% area. So obviously this is like really key working on that. And then on the other hand, I think it has a reason why I'm working within the wind industry. So I really want to feel comfortable with the product that I'm working for. And when it comes to Scope 3, I really also have the feeling that this is where we can still facilitate more in the context of like obviously the product itself, like the energy transition and like a clean energy transition. And then on the other hand, also just because we are like in the wind industry, it doesn't mean necessarily that we don't need to do anything else anymore. So also still improving that and optimizing that.
So what are the biggest barriers or challenges that you have either personally encountered or that you see other companies encountering when tackling Scope 3?
So this dependency on the value chain, the dependency on the supply chain is definitely a challenge that we now need to tackle. Then on the other hand, usually this doesn't come for free. So there's also this the issue of like additional costs that need to probably be faced.
So tell us, what are your favorite best-in-class examples that you would like to share with any company when trying to overcome major Scope 3 challenges?
I think really getting procurement on board was a changing point for us. As a matter of fact, it was actually the Scope 3 action group that somewhat got that started, because that was this very moment where it's like, okay, now or never. Now we just started, because I think there will never be this perfect time. And one needs to acknowledge that. So also after the Scope 3 action group, we have further worked with our procurement department quite closely. On the one hand, we got the full buy-in from our global sourcing department, as they would then also be the ones that would escalate it on a weekly level to really get as much data in as possible. So we ended up with an 85% response rate. And since then, we are also meeting up on a bi-weekly level and working together to actually set up a new supplier management tool.
And now I'm, of course, very curious to find out how the collaboration with Climate Choice has actually supported you and your team, or even your customers, on the Scope 3 journey.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, one thing was really providing this impetus of really starting. Nobody of us, neither the sustainability department nor the procurement department, actually had a proper idea, let's put it like that, and also the capacity to start looking into supplier engagement and getting the climate information in. And then at the same time also, when it comes to the questions that we would send out, obviously we would have one or the other KPI that we would be looking for, but to really get this questionnaire in and do those rounds of setting up this questionnaire, there would have just not been the capacity. And now with the tool, we have the different questions. It is the process is set within the tool. We got the support as well. And with that, this was really a good starting point. And then on the other hand as well, then understanding how to deal with the data that you get. So how can we use it actually for our plan to set up a supplier engagement target for science-based targets?
Now, let's look ahead. What gives you hope that your company will achieve its goals?
I mean, so looking at Scope 3, we started actually, back in, I think, 2020, when we would do our first corporate carbon footprint. So that was then for the year 2019. But then obviously that was not involving suppliers directly. There it was more like finding out, okay, what is actually like the scope 3 and like what's their share. We knew that it might be like the majority. I mean, we know since 2022 that we want to set up this supplier engagement target for science-based targets. This is ingrained within our sustainability strategy 2025. However, this didn't like properly include like reaching out to suppliers. We noticed that like this could already reduce like 3% of our corporate carbon footprint, only like getting a supplier-based factor in there. This was one aspect. And well, now since then with the Scope 3 Action Group and really also now like getting away from emails to actually sending out questionnaires, actually also getting those questionnaires sent out by the commodity managers. And now being in the status of like being very close to actually having the supplier engagement target set. So yeah, at the moment it looks like it's working.
And so we are here in this beautiful context of Climate Transformation Summit 2025. And of course, I'm very curious to understand what stood out for you so far.
I think there's several. So on the one hand, it's definitely like you're not alone. You're like in a pool of peers, whether they would be like in your industry or not. And on the other hand, also like quite some insights in the context of like what one could still do and like how we can like further embark on this journey. So I just came out of a workshop in the context of like carbon pricing for procurement, which I deem could be quite interesting for us as well. So this is obviously to be discussed with our procurement colleagues, but they are our partners in crime. So